Hi, Mum. Thanks for listening.
That's it. You probably don't say it enough.
What? Hi, Mum.
Yeah, love you, Mum. No, see, for the listeners out there, one, we appreciate you
Yeah, we do.
because without you and the support and all the love, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing.
This is true, yeah.
But if you've got a spare minute, if you could like and subscribe, that helps us help you.
That's true. And yeah, leave us a rating with some requests. What do you want us to talk about?
That exactly, yeah. Because much as we like going off the cuff sometimes, if we don't have any... And a lot... We use a lot of what's happened during the week, over the last fortnight, interaction with clients, interactions online, just things that are on in our mind. Oh boy. As, I guess, theme of what we talk about.
Absolutely. And I thought if we do a short, sharp one here, off the cuff.
Little bite size.
Yeah, a little bite-sized one. Been getting a few more of these questions recently. It's around supplements.
Ooh, supplementation.
What's good, what's bad, or like what's worthwhile under what circumstances.
I'm just going to put it out there. If you're buying something from an alleyway,
yeah, don't do that.
Probably not good.
No.
I don't think it's been batch tested.
Absolutely not.
Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah,
yeah.
Supplements.
Supplements, yeah. No, sorry. I was...
We lost the plot.
But it is a common question that we get. Is, should I be taking X? What's the best type of X? Being protein, whatever it might be.
Yeah. And it's funny, these days I don't really speak about it or talk about it, but there was a time when I used to really nerd out on this stuff. Specifically like sports nutrition, what supplements are worthwhile, etc. As a spoiler alert to all the listeners, this is absolutely not going to be one of those episodes where we're going to try and convince you that you need to spend a whole bunch of money on supplements, and there will be no discount or affiliate codes in this episode where we try and sell you the things that we sell so we make money out of it. So basically, don't trust anybody when it comes to supplements, except us, because we'll tell you that you probably don't need to spend any money on them.
Yeah, we'll save you some coin.
That's the end of the episode. Thanks for listening. No.
If you could follow the link in the bio.
Here we go. We ready, team?
Yeah, hit them.
There is the ones that Karl mentioned. So if you're not sure what the supplement is, that's rule number one. Don't get it. Right? So there are less of those brands now in Australia than there used to be. There was a big tightening up of regulations probably 5 or so years ago. And you saw brands, which I think we can now name them. I don't think this is slander because they did get fined. But your Herbalife, your Isogenics, etc., were fined, hundreds of millions of dollars, false marketing claims and whatnot. Because with all of those things, nobody knows what's actually in them. Right? The weight loss shake blend plus pro premium gold diamond female
accelerator.
Or whatever that was called. Fat Blaster Plus. Yeah. Like, if you don't know what's in it, straight away, that's a red flag. Other red flags are anything gender specific.
Yeah.
Female protein is not a thing. Protein is protein. We'll try not to nerd out too much as we speak here. But yeah, there's no difference between male and female protein. That is straight up nonsense. What other common ones do we get asked about?
I guess supplementation in terms of like fish oil, magnesium.
Yep. The big thing with all of these, and this is a hard one, but you would really want to go and get, and by the way, you should go and do this anyway.
I know where you're going. Yeah, it's good for you.
Each year, go to the doctor and get some blood tests done. It's a really, really good insurance policy, preventative measure. Like, anybody that's involved in healthcare will tell you that early detection of anything is the biggest advantage you can have.
Yeah.
Probably second only to a healthy lifestyle in general. Puts you lower at risk of pretty much everything. So be healthy. But beyond that, if you get regular blood work done, a lot of things will be detected far sooner that way than they would if you wait until you actually develop symptoms from the thing. So do that. The other good thing that can happen from that is by looking at it, you could see if you were deficient in any nutrients, right? So you can detect a lot of these nutrient levels from a full panel of blood tests. So you would need to tell your doctor, like, otherwise I'll give you quite a basic test. If you go, look, I'm interested in, yes, just to see if everything's A-okay, but also I'm really interested to see, how what you would say a full panel, like, so how my hormones are, how all this stuff is. From there, you would be able to see if it might be a good idea to start supplementing with certain things.
Yep.
Right? Having said that, accepting that a lot of people won't do that, there are some things that you can make assumptions based on.
Yep.
Fish oil, that was a very, very popular supplement when I first started in fitness, which we're quite old, but that was very big. I would use a really basic statement here. If you eat fatty fish each week, you probably don't need to supplement with fish oil, right? So fish oil, like omega-3, great nutrient, right? The acids contained within omega-3s, really good for you. But if you're already having salmon, etc., each week, you're probably okay. If you never eat salmon and you don't have flax, chia, etc., anything else that's a source of omega-3, yeah, it's probably not a bad strategy, right? Do I think you need 12 of those tablets a day? No.
Right. Besides that, they're awful. They're massive, though. Fish oil tablets.
Yeah. It tastes like fish. So.
Yeah, you do. It's like,
It's one of my favorite complaints I ever had from somebody taking fish oil tablets. It just tastes like fish.
It doesn't taste like chicken.
It's like, what a shock. So that's a big one. So yeah, potentially a good idea.
Yep.
In terms of actual evidence out there used to be a lot around like joint pain,
inflammation.
And it's kind of mixed on that. Same with heart health. Like you'd go, all right, omega-3s do this, and from there we can make an assumption that this would happen, blah, 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 blah. But I don't think it's going to do you any harm, regardless, right? What are the other ones? Magnesium.
Magnesium, yep.
Again, I think a lot of the claims are overstated. Let's just put that out there. Particularly like magnesium oils and things like that for muscle recovery in particular. I am partial to like one of those magnesium salt baths.
Oh, yeah.
And don't worry, I'm fully aware that it's 90% placebo. But it feels nice.
It does, right? It does. The old Epsom salts.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I quite like that. In terms of actually supplementing with magnesium, again, a decent amount of it could be placebo. The one area where I think it potentially has some validity is improving sleep quality. I think the specific variation is something called magnesium threonate, which has the best evidence on that. To be fair, I don't think it's going to be a groundbreaking difference between different forms of magnesium. There is some evidence that it will reduce oxidative stress in the body as well, and it can or may reduce muscle soreness in some way, shape, or form. I don't think it's going to be a groundbreaking thing, but if you are feeling quite sore, beaten up, stressed, and struggling to sleep, I think a little bit of magnesium before you go to sleep is probably not the worst strategy. The magnesium teas, they seem very overpriced. I would probably just take a tablet.
And just have tea on the side. Save you some money.
Well, yeah, especially there are compounds within like chamomile tea, for example.
Say chamomile tea is the goat.
That's good. Absolutely some evidence that may improve sleep. So you have a little bit of magnesium, a little bit of chamomile tea. You're doing some good things.
Absolutely. For a bath, have it as you having a bath. Stop it.
100%.
Like, that is ultimate relaxation.
Absolutely.
Talk about relieving some tension.
Yeah. And I guess the one that flows onto that is zinc.
Yes. Yeah.
So a lot of, you see that it's called ZMA, which is zinc and magnesium together as kind of like a sleep recovery supplement. Yeah, there is some evidence for that as well. Before you go ham on zinc, because there are a lot of different dosages and things from zinc supplements, and sometimes people are like zinc deficient. That's something you can absolutely pick up on in blood tests.
In bloods, yeah.
But most of those zinc magnesium blends, like, they don't have tons of zinc in it for that reason. Iron is one that I would definitely get tested before you start taking iron supplements. Like if you're anemic or something, you probably already know that. But if you are feeling really low on energy, that's absolutely something that you should go speak to your doctor about, because they can run the blood test and tell you that if you should or should not be supplementing with iron.
I really should know this. With just a standard blood test.
Yep.
Iron levels included in that?
Generally, it would
generally.
be,
It's not to do with the panel. Yeah.
But again, that'd be GP would say, okay, cool. Like it could be one of these different things. But yeah, if you be quite candid with them, I've never had a GP or heard from a client that I said, yeah, go speak to them about it, who's been reluctant to do it.
Opposed to it. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm just curious. Like, I just want to make sure all my health's in check. No doctor's going to turn around and go,
why are you
sounds
here?
like a terrible idea.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah. And if they do, get another
get
GP. Yeah.
Get a different GP. Next one would probably be vitamins.
I was just about to say, obviously, coming now, lead to the peak of winter. See, vitamin C is a big one.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting that, and I don't know what would need to happen for this to change, but there's not a ton of evidence that vitamin C actually improves or reduces like severity of colds,
like immune health and everything like that.
Yeah, I think being deficient in it absolutely puts you at risk of a whole bunch of different diseases and compromises your immune system. But going ham on vitamin C doesn't seem to have the opposite effect per se, especially once you have the cold. I think with all of these things, particularly when it comes to vitamins, eating well will get you a very long way. Like you can easily hit your vitamin C requirements just from eating a moderate amount of fruit and vegetables.
Yeah, that's what. Eat the rainbow.
Eat the rainbow. So yeah, obviously like oranges, everyone knows vitamin C. But a lot of fruits are high in vitamin C. A lot of vegetables, carrots, for example, high in vitamin C. So have that stuff. That's going to give you the broadest range of nutrients as well. Yeah. So that would be the default. But hey, if you want to top up, go ahead, top up. Same with vitamin B. Particularly if you are feeling very lethargic, vitamin B, could be possible.
Yep.
The one that I think is a decent option is vitamin D, particularly if you don't get a lot of sun exposure. Right. So there's a lot of people, I think it was like 1 in 3 people within Australia even was deficient in vitamin D. And like there's a decent amount of sunshine.
Yeah.
I guess not so much now in Melbourne, but that could be something to play around with.
Yeah.
Go, cool.
Definitely.
Just a little bit of vitamin D is a decent kind of approach.
It's going to help with energy levels.
Yeah.
In terms of, how you're feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. And also like there's risks with sun exposure. So you don't want to be sunbaking out there being like, cool, I'm getting heaps of vitamin D. It's like, well, you're also, risking skin cancer.
That's it, exactly. There's a bit of way, give or take here.
Absolutely. So there's your general, I guess, vitamins, minerals. I mean, there's tons more mineral supplements, but they're the most common ones we probably get asked about.
Yeah, I think the other supplement from a training point of view that we haven't touched on, which we get asked a little bit, is the old creatine.
Yeah, all about it.
The juice.
No, I think, to be clear, we want to talk about what it actually does.
Yes,
I think
the what?
Yeah, the what? Because does it work? Yes. Yes, it does. It's probably one of the most researched sports supplements out there for a very long time. But has it been marketed in a way that leads people to believe it probably does different things? Like, it's not going to cause you to stack on, 10 kilos of muscle. There's nothing legal that's ever going to do that. What it is going to do from a training point of view, it's going to improve your anaerobic output, really short-term anaerobic output. So if it's a goal of strength or power, for example, yeah, absolutely. It can definitely improve that. How much? Maybe 5%.
I think it depends on training age, all that sort of stuff, and training experience. Yeah.
Right. And there's some negative press that it gets as well. It causes bloating and water retention and things like that. I think that's possibly a misunderstanding of how it works in terms of how your ATP, PC, so phosphocreatine, how that kind of binds together. But essentially in the short term, could your weight spike with a little bit more water retention? Sure.
Yeah.
Short term. It's going to go back to normal pretty quick.
Yeah. Because it's not something you have all the time.
No. There used to be this thing you should cycle it on and off. I think that's been thoroughly debunked. It's the recommended dose, I think, is 3 to 5 grams a day. And it's like a tiny little scoop and you chuck it in there and you're pretty much done. The interesting stuff with it as well that's come out is there's some research around it improving cognitive function and potentially warding off Alzheimer's and dementia.
Cool. I didn't know that. That's cool.
I think that's definitely
awesome. And that's like early. Is that early days in terms of that research?
Yeah, but I mean, it's been probably the last decade or so.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, that's a cool one.
Yeah.
In terms of different reason to take it, it's also really cheap, which is one of the reasons why I recommend it. Like, you just want creatine monohydrate is your stock standard form. Just get that. There's more expensive, fancy versions out there. Absolutely. There is nothing to suggest they're any better. And I don't know, like, we've got the brand we use is VPA because they're Australian made, owned, we trust what's in the product, etc.
They tested.
But it's not expensive what we sell it for.
No, that's it. Like I said, it's probably one of the cheapest.
It might be like
supplements.
$20 for a tub or something.
Yeah.
And that'll last you months. So yeah, it doesn't cost much at all. And I guess there's good old fashioned protein.
Yep.
For the gains. So this is a real simple one. How would you say, Karl? Like, would you recommend someone has a protein supplement?
We would always recommend try and get your protein intake from whole food sources. In saying that, though, if you feel you don't get adequate amount of protein in your diet, then as the word supplement can be beneficial. And particularly for people who maybe struggle with snacking and all, they'll just feel like they're not full. So protein can be very good in keeping you feeling fuller for longer. So it can, I guess, discourage, if you like, the need to snack and everything like that and those cravings. So having that, and people who might be on the go, they need a convenient option. You can't cook a steak on the way to work or whatever it is. Having the protein shake and having that supplement, it can be really handy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's exactly it. Like, it's a really important nutrient. So when you're talking about like order of priority, I suppose, for someone to get their diet in check, the overall amount that you're eating, massively important. Next important is probably how much protein you're having. So we know that a high protein diet is good for so many different things. Like, yeah, it's good for getting stronger and building muscle. It's also really good for losing weight. Yeah. Right? For all the reasons Karl just mentioned. The thing with a protein supplement is, as much as, yes, in an ideal world, you don't need it because you're eating enough protein. There are people out there that'll tell you that, the protein in like whey protein, if we use that as an example, is like one of the highest quality proteins you can get. That is true, right? Do I think there's a big difference between the protein in chicken and the protein in a protein shake? No. Right? Like, the argument would be there would be more branched chain amino acids, just for you nerds out there. In particular, leucine is an amino acid. That is the thing that's correlated with spiking muscle protein synthesis, right? Which we could then say is part of muscle recovery, etc. The leucine content in whey is very, very high. It's concentrated form. How much of a practical difference is that going to make to anybody? Oh, so little. It's incredibly insignificant, right? The only time that might be significant, to be clear, is a plant-based protein. So for you vegetarians and vegans out there, the protein that you're going to get from soy, for example, or tofu, things like that, is going to be of a lower quality than from meats, dairy, whey protein, which I guess is a form of dairy. That's definitely a factor. And the one time when I generally recommend people do use a protein supplement is vegans and some vegetarians, depending on how their diet looks, just because it's difficult to get enough protein from purely your diet, particularly if you're vegan. Yeah. And if you are struggling with that and you're listening to this, feel free to shoot us a message and I will point you in the right direction to people that are plant-based coaches and that'll give you some good recommendations, because I know that can be a pretty big challenge for people. But for everybody else, a whey protein shake can make a lot of sense. Yeah. It's also cheap, something we should throw out there.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're getting all your protein from like lean steak, like that's not cheap.
No, that's it. Exactly. You want top stuff.
Yeah. And you go, I don't know, a kilo of protein, good quality protein, let's say it's $50. So what? you get 30 serves in a kilo generally. So it's like $1.50, a little bit more than that a serve. Like that's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Relative to anything else. So that could be a consideration for some people as well. In terms of picking protein, protein's protein. There's no real difference, right? So that's where there's no such thing as a fat-burning protein. There's also no such thing as a muscle-gaining protein. That's just where they put a whole bunch of carbs in with the protein powder, right? Which if you're trying to lose weight, is a terrible idea. If you're trying to gain weight, okay, maybe. Probably suggest just eat more, but hey, that's on you.
Yeah.
The thing that we would probably caution you on is, all those outrageous claims. So don't walk into a bodybuilding store because you're possibly going to get it.
Oh, yeah. They'll get you. You'll come out with a bundle.
Yeah, they'll get you with the whole stack. All I would look for is where it's made, right? So that's important. And also what filler ingredients are in there, which is a confusing statement, I know. Certain brands, companies will chuck a whole bunch of stuff in there because it's sold by weight. So if you've ever watched Narcos, when they're with Pablo and he's sending his cocaine out of South America, right? They get very upset when people add different stuff in there because then they're like, it's the same weight, but obviously it's not as pure, etc.
No, that's it. The quality's being compromised.
Exactly. So the same thing can happen with protein.
I love that he just used enough.
I was watching it recently. I'm like, that's how it works, right?
Absolutely.
They're cutting that protein down. It's less pure. So like the brand, again, like we don't get anything out of saying it, but if you're in Australia, VPA is pretty good.
Yeah.
So it's Australian dairy cows. It's made in Australia, certified facility, and it's batch tested, which would mean
the big thing. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you're playing a sport, right, where there's any chance that you're going to get drug tested, you should 100% the team that you're playing for or your coach should definitely have you up to speed with this. But you want to make sure the supplements you're taking are batch tested so that if anything ever goes wrong, they can go away and test that batch. And it's just an insurance policy for you. If you're buying the cheapest stuff on the shelf and it's imported from God knows where, you don't know what else was made in that facility.
You run the risk for sure.
Trace elements and stuff. Like you've seen, you hear that in the media from time to time. Very sad, but you've just got to do your due diligence on the stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Outside of that, what other supplements we asked about?
Yeah, we spoke about zinc,
fat burners.
Oh yeah, I suppose your
they're nonsense.
Fat burners, your pre-workouts.
Pre-workouts, yeah.
Yeah.
Like fat burners, I'm not a fan of. For the most part, they're just overpriced. What's in that amino acid? Carnitine.
Carnitine and full of beta-alanine.
Yeah. So carnitine is one where there is some evidence that it metabolizes fat. Any study with that is an injectable form of carnitine. So unless you're going to be jabbing yourself with something, it's not necessarily the same with the oral form, and it's not a significant difference anyway. So probably steer clear of those. Pre-workouts. Look, is caffeine a performance enhancer? Yes. Straight away. Yes, it is. There is something to be really mindful of when it comes to caffeine. What's that, Karl?
If we talk with too much?
Yeah.
Too much isn't good.
No, and it can impact your sleep quite badly. So when you look at, I try not to nerd out too much, but this can be hard not to.
I love it.
With any drug, you got what's called like a life of the drug. You got a full life and a half life. So it's how long is it going to take for half of it to basically exit your system, and then as well for the full amount. The half life of caffeine is about 6 hours for most people. All right, so it's going to be in your system for that long, and that half life, it's not exactly this, but in layman's term, like that's how long it's going to be really effective for, right? So if you're hitting the gym at 7 p.m. and you're slamming some pre-workout with a whole bunch of caffeine into it, like don't be surprised if you can't fall asleep at 10. Like, and even if you do, like, is your sleep quality going to be the best? Possibly not, right? So that's where the performance benefits could absolutely be undone by, I guess, the recovery detriments. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something to be mindful of. And also the amount of caffeine that you need to, like, you can have a little bit of caffeine, like a coffee, obviously, it makes you a little bit more alert. To improve physical performance, you need a decent amount.
Yeah. And then you factor in that it will dehydrate you as well. So if you're not,
so you're looking at, I believe most studies will show you about 2 milligrams of caffeine per kilogram of body weight is the starting point for increases in performance, right? So what would that look like? If let's say you're 80 kilograms, a can of Red Bull has 80 milligrams of caffeine. So you'd be looking at 2 cans of Red Bull at a minimum, right? There is studies of far more than that. We're talking 5 Red Bulls, 6 Red Bulls. Obviously, you're not actually going to drink Red Bull to do this. You'd be having caffeine supplements, etc.
So this brings me back to my no dose.
Exactly,
days.
those are the days.
Oh yeah, they still sell that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. The pre-workout blends will typically have a decent amount of caffeine in them, like per scoop, anywhere from 150 to 200 milligrams of caffeine, which is probably going to give you a bit of a boost. Is it any different to having caffeine in any other form? No, it's not. It's all the same. Sometimes it tastes nice.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the little flavor kick is always nice.
Yeah. Quite often they'll have things like creatine in there, which we already spoke about. So that could work.
Some electrolytes.
Beta-alanine, as Karl mentioned. Real brief nerd out on this one. Beta-alanine, again, amino acid. So a lot of these things will be amino acids. It essentially will act as an intracellular buffer. So it will maintain the pH level of a cell for longer as you exercise. Now, what does that mean? It basically means anaerobically, you could train for a little bit longer. So it can improve your endurance. Yeah. So possibly, if you were sprinting on a exercise bike, you go a little bit longer. Or if you're doing reps in the gym, maybe you'd get a little bit more out, a couple of extra reps. Again, we're talking a minuscule amount here.
And there is an unfortunate side effect.
Yeah, the tingles or the itchy skin. So if you've ever had a pre-workout and your face feels like you just want to scratch it off, that's the beta-alanine kicking in. That's why it's in a lot of things as well, because you can feel it.
The sensation,
Oh, yeah, this is getting me up and about.
This is
working. The same with other ingredients in there. Some of them will have nitric oxide, which will basically, simplest way to explain it, it will make you appear more vascular. So it increases blood flow to muscles. So is there a slight performance benefit to that? Possibly. Do you look more muscular when you work out if you take it? Absolutely. Right? So that's why it's in there.
I was going to say, so take it. No.
100% take it.
Sold.
100% take it. They're the main legit ingredients in pre-workouts. Like some of them do have carnitine, things like that. It goes back to my statement at the start. If you don't know what the thing is, then it's probably nonsense. A lot of them will have an ingredient that's not a real ingredient. So to say like, proprietary performance blend, which is basically their way of saying like, we mixed a whole bunch of stuff together and we don't have to list it on this label.
There you go. I didn't know that.
Yeah, which is a classic one.
That's very cheeky.
Or like performance matrix. The hell is that? It's not an ingredient. If you went on their website, I'm sure they'd have to list it somewhere.
They would have to, surely.
All nonsense stuff. And I guess the last one, actually, which I did have this question recently, which is the BCAAs themselves, like branched chain amino acids. There was a time.
Yeah, the old tablets,
Tablets or even the powder stuff. You'd see everybody walking around sipping that out of a protein shaker the whole way through their workout. Because the idea was the more amino acids you were taking in, BCAAs, you'd spike that muscle protein synthesis all the time. And like, hey, if spiking that 4 times a day is good, we spike that 15 times a day.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be great. Realistically, that's not the case. There's a great meme on it, which is like someone just like watering their garden in the rain and saying like that's what taking these supplements is.
Yeah.
Which basically says if you're already eating enough protein, there is no additional benefit to having BCAAs.
Because the body can only absorb
like
so much.
And it'll potentially it will spike muscle protein synthesis more, but that doesn't actually correlate to anything. So save your money on that one for sure.
Yeah.
That's most of them.
Yeah.
I think there's always weird ones.
I think we've covered them all.
Yeah. Like all your nature stuff, actually. I'm not the person to ask. Your naturopathy kind of stuff.
No. There's this thing called water. It's meant to be pretty good too.
Water's good. One actually we do get a lot that I forgot about. Melatonin.
Yeah.
Sleep supplement. Yeah. I don't mind melatonin. I'll be honest. I think if how do you explain how melatonin works? We have a body clock, the old circadian rhythm. Melatonin is released naturally, in theory, by our body when it's time to go to sleep. So things like temperature and light exposure will influence how our body naturally releases it, but you can supplement it. It can be really useful for shift workers. It can be really useful for people like us that are up at weird times and, we want to go to sleep because we need to get up early, but we're kind of still wired because we've just finished work. It can be useful in those situations, but you want to use it sparingly, right? So if you're having to rely on that all the time, it's probably an indication that, hey, you could improve some lifestyle factors and work on your routine a little bit as well.
Yeah.
And someone did ask me about the old ashwagandha recently. Ashwagandha, which is another like sleep supplement, supposedly to de-stress you. There is a little bit of evidence on that. I would try it and just see if it works for you. That's pretty much all we got, team.
I love it.
The thing I would leave you with, there's a great website out there. It is called examine.com. So literally the word examine.com. You can type in anything, any supplement, and it will give you a summary of basically all the current research. So there's a panel of experts they have from different fields, dietitians, PhDs in various fields, and they will basically review current studies and come to a consensus on it. So that's a really good resource. So if you're ever concerned, like, oh, okay, is this legit or is it not legit? Go on there and it will tell you. It'll list, okay, cool, there's some research on this, but it's not really proven, or no positive research, or like, yeah, this is a good idea. We'll put that in the show notes.
Yeah, love it.
Examine.com. And again, no affiliate codes on that. None of that. This is
not yet.
Raw and authentic. Not yet, exactly. If anybody wants to sponsor us, and we will plug all of your supplements and say they're all fantastic. Kidding. We would never do that. Maybe.
A man's got a price.
Until next time, team.